Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our latest episode of Fangs for the Fantasy, our weekly podcast where we look at speculative fiction in all of its myriad forms, all through our social justice lens. As ever, your hosts are me, Paul, and Renee. Hello, Renee.
Hello, Paul.
We're going to hit the ground really running this week because we wanted to talk about books as well. Unfortunately, every single one of our shows just failed on an epic level, which means we have so much to rant about, it's not even funny. So let's start first of all with the mid-season premiere, mid-season return. I don't know the mid-season. What is the term for a mid-season return? Either way,
Mid-season premiere, yeah.
The Walking Dead is back. Let us discuss how very, very bad it was. Renee?
I'm pissed. And saying that is really, really an understatement. And I knew when Tyrese was bitten, and I went into complete denial, like, they can't do it. They won't do it. They just simply can't. And then they did. And I wanted to throw something. Quite literally, I wanted to throw something. Because this is, again, a continuation of the T-Dog chain, and
Mm-hmm.
it was with Tyrese, of all people. Like, why couldn't they have taken out Daryl? Of course they won't take out Daryl. He's
Yep.
not black, and I've had it with The Walking Dead. Even though the actor who plays Tyrese was really gracious about the whole thing, um, I just found myself feeling so incredibly angry.
It's it's frustrating because when you look at the comics, Tyrese was so much. He was such a main character. He was such an equal character. He was a co-leader with Rick. He was an equal power with Rick. He called Rick out on his shit on more than one occasion. Yes, he died, but it's one of those times when death is meaningful because the character was developed and meaningful before he died. Unlike this
Mhm.
Tyrese, who was the nanny. I know everyone's trying to big up his emotional and moral side, but that never really came through because he wasn't assertive enough with his morality for it to make a difference. Instead, he was just this passive follower to everyone else, not even close to a fully realised character.
Essentially, that's really and truly the case. Um, he was not the Tyrese from the comics, and it was really, really disappointing because when we were dealing with the whole BS with T Dog, right? I kept
Hmm.
thinking who just basically stood around, carried shit, and was black. And of course shamed for him bringing up race as well.
Yeah.
I kind of thought, okay, it's gonna be okay because Tyrese is gonna come in, and The Walking Dead is really gonna redeem itself, and then it didn't.
Hmm. It was so disappointing and such a wasted opportunity. But I think to add, and also I think the way his death wasn't necessary. We've had a big dramatic death in Best Thing. I don't think they particularly developed anything. I don't think they particularly added to anything. I don't think that, and this whole idea of morality and holding on to your soul, I think they've done better before and in different scenes. I don't think I don't think his death, his storyline actually meant anything. I
Hmm.
don't think his death was there. It was just random shock value. And they tried, because they've clearly unleashed a cameraman from the art school. I think they tried really hard to get all artsy and meaningful about it. But at the end of the day, I don't think it did.
Well, I mean, I could see it. I could see the artisticness with the camera shooting different elements of Tyrese's life, and the different scenes they did, and the twins and Bob and all of them coming back to usher Tyrese into the afterlife. The problem with all of that is I don't give a shit because the end result is Tyrese is dead.
Yeah. Ultimately, it doesn't matter how prettily it is done or how artistically it's done, he's still dead.
Hmm.
And the thing is, as well, to add a little more salt to the wounds, not only is Therese dead, but with him dead, we're pretty much losing. I mean, there's really only him and Michonne who have any chance as a black character of being fully developed. And, the chances of both are very slim, but they were the only ones who had. Noah, Sasha, and Gabriel are not going to become main characters. They are always going to be lurking in the background. For Noah and Gabriel to become main characters at this point would require a full-on Carol transformation, which isn't going to happen.
Basically, they're walker bait. It's
Yeah,
only a matter of time till they get eaten.
Tyrese was the only black man on this show who had any chance of any kind of development. Even though they continually screwed up that chance, he had that chance. It's not going to happen with Noah. It's not going to happen with Gabriel. It's not going to happen with Sasha, because even though I think she has more chance than the other two, the whole only be one game means that Michonne will always hold that spot with her angry eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of brings me to something else that pisses me off about this episode. Behind the whole Tyrese death, there was a storyline. It was Michonne getting tired of surviving. It was Michonne opening up enough to have emotions and connection. It was Michonne who has dared to hope on repeated occasions, and now with Eugene and Terminus both exposed as frauds, has decided, no, I don't want to do this anymore. The way she killed that zombie wasn't anger, it wasn't the cold detached professionalism, wasn't even sadness. It was tired. She was sick of this. And you could have had a whole episode about Michonne saying, no, we need to live. We need to settle down. I am tired of doing this. I am tired of wandering, particularly since she's the character who spent so much time wandering on her own.
Yes.
Finally saying, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going back to that life. I want a home. I want a safe space. I want us to build a community. That would have been awesome. It would have developed this character who has been so in need of development for so long. It would have been a storyline. It would have actually been the core of a whole new plot line, and then going to DC, it would have made Michonne more relevant beyond as a weapon. It would have developed one of these grossly underused characters, expanded her emotional palette, and generally been good. But instead, no, we're going to have Tyrese dying for reasons. So I think not only is it killed off Tyrese, who never got developed, not only is it robbed us as one of the few black characters who could have been developed, but it also stole Michonne's thunder.
Pretty much so. And I kind of felt like now, I mean, why now of all things, of all times, is she going through this?
I could see it, but I could only see it if they actually developed it, because it would make sense for us to do it now because of Eugene's failure, and because they've just seen another community fall apart, and because they were going to see Noah's family's community and that's fallen apart as well. I can see it. I can see her actually getting on that path, but lead us down that path. Show us this. Show us how it is all built in Michonne.
Essentially, all it was an excuse to get the cast to move towards Washington.
Which is depressing, because it could have been so much more.
That's the only thing it was about. How to get the cast to move towards Washington.
It is so frustratingly annoying, because here was this opportunity they could have had, and instead, no. We're going to have nothing from Michonne except a few brief scenes, and we're going to kill off Tyrese and leave you with people of colour who are frankly just going to die. There's another thing. Sasha, Noah, and Gabriel have no other connections to anyone else in the party now.
None whatsoever.
So
well, Noah came in because of Beth. Beth is dead. Sasha is connected to
Tyrese and Bob.
Tyrese and Bob. They're both dead, and now we have the minister.
Mm-hmm.
Who's obviously not long for this world.
Yeah, and both Noah and Gabriel are such passive, weak, semi-cowardly characters with no real skills or roles to add to the group.
Mm-hmm.
So, dead. They couldn't be more dead if they'd already had their graves dug for them.
Thing is, I wouldn't have missed Noah.
No.
If it had been Noah, I wouldn't have been that upset. I
honestly expected him to die.
It wouldn't have been a pleasant thing because, yes, you'd have another black character dying. However, there was never any potential for Noah. There's no letdown with Noah's death.
Mm-hmm. We know what he is there for. Noah is there to die. He is there at some point in the not too distant future to go, I'm dead, everybody cry a bit. Or not, because it's not that important.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a full. That is what Noah's for. That is what Noah will do. So if Noah had died now, we'd have rolled our eyes, said, "Oh, look, another T-Dog chain," but and then moved on
Hmm.
because we knew that's exactly what Noah is for. That was exactly what Noah's going to do. That's exactly his role on this show.
I honestly, I guess I'm most angry that I gave them the benefit of the doubt. When
Mm.
Tyrese's arm got, when Tyrese got bitten, I stupidly gave them the benefit of the doubt.
I thought they were going because in the books Rick lost an arm, um, which they
Yep.
haven't done in the TV show because I think Robert Kirkman said he didn't want to do it because he regretted doing it in the comics because it limited Rick too much for his tastes.
Hmm.
Um, Whereas, I kind of say, well, you know what, that's a story opportunity. You
Yeah.
know, why would and you say, oh, it limits him too much? No, no, it gives you the opportunity to tell more stories of a protagonist who is disabled. But anyway, that's a side issue.
Hmm.
And I thought, yeah, we are going to do it with Tyrese. They weren't going to do it to their precious Rick, but Tyrese was going to fulfill the role with extra echoing back to the character in the computer games.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I was with you. They were going to cut off his arm, and he was going to recover, and we were going to have a one-armed Tyrese. But no,
And then it didn't happen.
nope. It just no. There's nothing. There's no good here, and it's depressing and frustrating because it goes in line with everything we've ever complained about The Walking Dead. I mean, if you look at our Friday discussion posts on the blog, our big discussions, analysis, and musings tab, Walking Dead has, I think it's like 3 posts now on its shitty treatment of people of colour on this show.
Hmm.
Uh, well, at least I think no, we have like 4. So that that's 4 posts relating to race on The Walking Dead. And if it goes on for another season 6, I can easily see it by the end of season 6 us writing a 5th one.
It just, I don't know. I was ready to quit The Walking Dead when I saw that happen. I really was. Um, it was just so wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So wrong.
It's
And
just,
I don't know. I just don't feel like, at this point, I feel like they just don't give a shit. That's what it is. They have this narrative in their mind that this is a dystopian and white guy, look at white guy man pain, white guy saving people. This is what this show is about, and they're never going to add anything significant when it comes to marginalized characters unless it somehow, um, benefits Rick's character in some way. And
yeah,
I'm kind of fed up.
it just makes them tools.
Exactly. It's typical for a dystopian, and I'm really, really fed up at this point.
Yeah, it's just, no, it's just, meh. It's not adding anything.
Hmm.
It's not subverting anything, and it's just tiresome now, which is just a real shame.
Like, how much more?
It's come to a point where, well done, you're well and truly breaking every single chance we would ever give any hope to this series. You
Hmm.
must be rapidly losing any potential benefit of the doubt, any potential faith we will have in it. Any minority character that comes in now, no matter who they are, we're just, yeah, you know. It's not, you're not going to get the enthusiasm, and particularly since we normally feel such enthusiasm with minority characters, but no, not now. This book has screwed it up far too often.
I just can't. I just can't. At this point, I don't trust them anymore. I feel disheartened. I'm not interested in the story anymore. I am sick of the way dystopians constantly play this stupid bullshit out. Either they pretend that marginalized people don't exist,
Mm-hmm.
or they put us in secondary roles only to be killed off for fodder. And I'm
Exactly.
sick to death of it now.
Ablative marginalized people, background tokens, non-developed characters, extras. Always the extras.
Hmm.
While we all orbit around some cis straight white guys in epic man pain.
It's enough already.
Tiresome. Do something new, do something different. And this is one of the reasons why Z Nation is one of the few which is still compelling. And that not just because it's fun.
Well, yes. I mean, there were certain characters when they killed them, I was like, say what? I
Mm-hmm.
thought this was the character that could not die, and then they died.
Exactly. And it came to a point that we have reached this level where we do when we see the cis straight white male in a group, that's the one who we expect to be immortal, and we're usually right,
Hmm.
and that's just kind of sad. It shows that the series has become very this genre has become very, very trope laden and very, very bound, and it's removing the drastic tension from it. Apart from anything else, it's
Hmm.
become very predictable. When it comes to, particularly since zombies are fairly predictable anyway, and you need to find something to make it different. But if you're going to set up these tropes as who lives, who dies as well, you're taking away one of your few chances to do something different with a genre which is looking very, very similar over and over again. Zombie apocalypses, they all kind of look the same.
Yeah, they kind of do.
And, it's very hard to do something original because it says zombies don't lend themselves to originality.
I just all they just could have mixed it up a little bit,
Hmm.
and they've gone so. I guess they've done they've done so by changing Carol's character so much so that people wonder why she isn't leading the group instead of Rick. Why couldn't Tyrese get that same kind of consideration? They wouldn't even have had to change his character. They would just have had to make him what he was in the comics.
Hmm.
And I'm sorry, at this point, I'm going to say it. This shit is racist. It's racist as all get out.
It's really blatant. It is not even subtle. Let's face it, it is not subtle. The T Dog chain now is so long.
Hmm.
Yeah, no. So, Walking Dead. And we're just going to watch. They do realize now we are going to watch the rest of the season with a kind of arms crossed glare. Say, come on then.
I'm already
Show
there.
us your bullshit.
I am already there, and I'm not looking forward to next week. I don't care about when they showed us. Oh, look at the peril they're coming up to, and I was just, yeah, I don't care.
Hmm.
That's how it feels to me. I
They're,
just don't care anymore.
they're giving us far too little reason to invest because of their bullshit.
Hmm. So I'll watch it because I'm committed to it and doing it for the show and for the blog. But I have to honestly say, after last night's blow, I think if I didn't have to do it for the blog, um, I think I may have let it go.
Hmm. It is one of those moments, a case of really.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure I would have let it go.
Yeah, there's just the reaches the limit of I'm not doing this anymore.
Hmm.
But moving to the next one
Okay.
before we just spend all night going, we hate you. We hate
Mm.
it. Bitten came back, and Bitten wasn't too bad.
Yeah. I think, okay, I like that Elena was active. I
Hmm.
like the fact that it was her kicking ass and Clay just kind of stood around there. And usually the visual you get is the exact opposite, but she's the heavy, and he's actually, in this case, the voice of reason.
And
Just sort of standing back and letting her do her thing. And I gotta say, I like that.
I liked it more because in both the books and in season one, Elena is such a damsel and such a
Hmm.
precious resource to be captured and controlled. That was her role in season one, and that was her role through most of the book series as well. I like a much more active, driven.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like that's much more appealing to me. So more of this, more of angry Elena, more of violent Elena, more of capable, ruthless Elena.
It's good.
I also quite like the direction of the pack. I mean, all season one, the pack was running scared, trying to be reasonable, trying to plan, but constantly losing. I quite like them turning around going, you know what, we are done. And reminding us all that, this is why they are a pack.
Hmm.
So I quite like that as well, because one of the most annoying things I found about season one is that the pack was peculiarly passive and rather ineffectual.
It was very much like they were running around chasing their tails,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
Yep, and a
Literally,
wonderful
actually, in
mental
their
image as well.
case.
Yeah.
It just came out. But that's pretty much the feeling that I got from it.
Whereas in this season, I can actually see the pack as a capable, dangerous, you know, forceful organization, something
Hmm.
to be worried about, something to be respected, not something to just dismiss out of hand. And I think that makes it's a nice little shift. I
Oh,
still
for
think they're not
sure.
doing a good job with Jeremy's characterization, but
He's really, really stiff
hmm
still. I don't buy him as a leader either, and he's not very much like the Jeremy from the books.
no,
So, I mean, I'm trying to keep in mind it's supposed to be a little bit different, and they sort of want to mix things up. Um, but yeah, that goes through my mind.
yeah.
Also, have you noticed anytime there's sex, they call Nick?
Yeah, well, I'm quite happy with this. But on that note as well, one thing I'm quite impressed by this show is when they do naked, and they do a lot of naked. It's almost like a HBO show. But when they do naked, it's equal. It's very equal nudity
Hmm.
compared to most of what's out there. I mean, like you compare this to say Da Vinci's Demons, for example,
Breasts everywhere.
whereas the men still manage to be completely covered in most
Hmm.
cases.
Hmm.
And I think Bitten's nicely refreshing. If we are going to see Elena's backside, we are going to see Claire's backside.
Yes.
And there's no L-shaped sheets, or there's no convoluted positions which always are going to show off everything the woman has while the man is conveniently covered.
I still say we need to see more of Nick.
Oh yes, definitely more, because I do appreciate that eye candy. But I appreciate the equality of the eye candy.
All right, and speaking of equality, I'd like to also add in um, Nick services his women.
Mm-hmm.
This is something you don't often see on television. 9 times out of 10, when they are depicting oral sex, it's a woman performing oral sex on a man. It's very rarely the other way around. And that's twice now we saw Nick getting down, and I
Yeah,
can be down for that.
it's when
Without
you
getting
see.
vulgar, I'm just saying I think that's something.
Well, that's it. When Nick has sex with a woman, he makes it a point, and one thing we've seen every single time he's had sex is the point that um, she is enjoying herself. It is about her pleasure at least as much as his, and he's
Hmm.
always made that a point. And I think that's worth appreciating,
Hmm.
especially when you've got wall to wall shows like, for example, Game of Thrones,
Oh,
where women
yes.
are basically vessels
Hmm.
which have sex done to them.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think it sounds prurient, but it's true. It is subversive. It is something that's important to mention, and I think that's something that Bitten does very well, mainly with Nick, but in general as well. Elena instigates a lot of sex.
Hmm.
She's not. It's not just again something that's done to her. it's a lot about, female sexuality, female participation in sexuality.
Yes.
So yeah, I like that. I also have to say, but this is mainly from the books, which is that they are actually going on to the Sterling storyline. I didn't actually like Sterling, but I liked what it um, opened up.
Mhm. Um, I think that it's going to add an interesting element,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm very curious to see where this goes.
Though I also
And
have
yeah,
to.
it
Sorry,
makes
go
the
on.
world larger because before it was
Mm-hmm.
just really just werewolves. So now you're adding witches, and so there's going to be more mystical, making the world larger. I just hope they don't fall into the Vampire Diaries problem or the originals problem, and that is the shifting power of witches.
Yeah, they need to keep it consistent, and I hope so because they do seem to be at least fairly bound to the books. They're quite loyal to the books. The only This is going to sound really shallow, but the main problem I have is that's not how I picture Paige.
Okay.
I don't know why. It's just I look at that and this is not how I pictured Paige at all. Apart from anything else, Paige has always made a point in the books of being fully fuller figured.
Mhm.
Like, not necessarily fat, but certainly not that thin.
Well, this is television.
Yeah, of
you
course.
know, um, and they're not big on showing the fact that people do indeed come in different shapes and sizes. And anytime there's any kind of representation of a woman, you
Hmm.
know, who isn't, you know, below a size 6, because even size 6 you'll hear, oh my God, she's fat.
She's plus size.
You know, they're not really into showing that on television. Just look at the latest plus size model. They're rewarding her for being healthy. She's got the death fats and she's going to die.
No, because instead we're going to have size zero models showing us the pinnacle of health.
Well, yeah, because starving yourself to be an ideal body weight is so totally healthy. But if you're fat, they're very concerned about your weight.
Of course.
So, in that sense, there was probably never any chance that she was going to be a bigger woman, and you only get to be a bigger woman on TV if they can somehow mock you.
If you're going to be funny and laughed at.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much, and or you're going to be some sort of like fetish.
Mhm.
It's fine if you're going to be somebody's fetish, but beyond that, really not so much.
I mean, it says everything that the poster child for bigger women in Hollywood is Jennifer Lawrence because of some of the things she said. But my God, since when does she count as a bigger woman?
Well, no, I mean, I think that I would tend to say Gabourey Sidibe,
Yeah, but I
but
think again, the one who gets to speak out about it most and is often hailed more so much is off. I mean, Jennifer Lawrence has said a lot about for her body issues.
um, what's her name? I'm trying to remember her.
Melissa McCarthy
I don't. I think people tend to ignore Miss Melissa McCarthy's weight somewhat because she's so funny.
again.
I
That's
don't
an
see a lot
acceptable.
of I don't see a lot of she has death fats when it comes to
Because she's in one of the acceptable positions of a fat woman, the comic relief.
mhm. Let's um what's her name from Mad Men? Um the actress who plays Joan. She's a fuller figured woman, and you've got the whole um Christina Hendricks.
Mm.
She gets a lot of the it's okay if you're curvy and you're sexy, and they're constantly talking about her body. She's far from being she would be today. I mean, she's got to be like a size 16, I think.
Hmm.
So definitely not on the tiny end. But of course, She's so overtly sexualized, but people think of this as a positive. It's just yet another way of reducing a woman's body. I don't think it really matters what size you are. I don't think that when it comes to women's bodies, there's always going to be some kind of policing. And on shows like this where you see so much nudity, there was never a chance for them. There was never any chance in hell they weren't going to pick somebody who wasn't tiny. Because the idea of a bigger woman taking off her, even as sexy as they say Joan is, she's keeping on her clothes. Um, I'm just saying that when it comes to taking off the clothes, it's not going to be a big woman. Not
Yeah,
unless they're somehow mocking her. And it's a given that on this show there is going to be some sex, so there was no chance they were ever going to hire a bigger actress of any sort.
sadly so. But despite that, in general, I'm quite happy with the direction this show is going. I'm interested, I'm intrigued. I'm curious as to I'm wary as what's going to happen with Logan and Rachel's storyline, but
Hmm.
I'm glad that they're still fairly central to it. But
there. What I don't like is that Rachel is going to be bait and she's going to be the kidnapped woman. And in this series, there's a lot of kidnapping of women.
hmm
So that's what I see when I think about Rachel's storyline.
So, well, I think it's going to be very much a case of what's going to happen from here.
I mean, I like it, and I particularly like it now they're out of Toronto and she's not having two lives anymore. I
hmm
do like it. So I'm in, and I was excited for it to come back. I'm totally in.
Yep. So come on, Bitten, don't disappoint us. You are under strict orders.
Hmm.
So shall we move on to the next one?
Yep.
Constantine. I have some complexities here.
Go. The rape or the rape
Well,
or rape? Which are you starting with?
I'm going to start with the race and the angel storyline because this is something which I am torn because if we could magically transport to a world without racial tropes, which or even if it was on a show which didn't have such a bad habit with it, sidelining their people of color,
Hmm.
I would have loved the storyline. The angel having to get his hands dirty, the angel who's always been distant and disapproving, finally getting a taste of the reality he's so judgmental about. John saying, no, no, you're going to get involved in this, you're going to get neck deep in it, you're going to see exactly what you're demanding of us, deal with it. I'd have loved that. I'd have hailed it. I would have loved this episode. And Manny being constantly confused by human emotions and human sensations and nausea. I would have loved this, and if it was not for all the racial tropes, I would have set off fireworks and said, yes, this is perfect, thank you. Except...
Except he essentially enslaved Manny,
Yeah.
depowered him, and said,
hmm
"Hey, you're gonna be my sidekick. Come follow me around."
Which is a problem because of the ongoing... This is one of the problems with racial tropes. This is the problem with not having regularly occurring black characters in major roles. Because it means a role like this, a storyline which I would normally love, fails because we've got such a societal weight of negative tropes behind it that the portrayal is cringeworthy.
Well, I think also too when you add up all their portrayals of people of color so far, and our cultures and our various religious belief systems. Like their portrayal of voodoo, for instance.
hmm
Uh, Constantine has a problem. So
Exactly.
that being said, you're not likely then to give it a pass for what it does to Manny this week. It's just one more brick on the wall.
Exactly, and it's a shame because if they'd have made an effort to develop these characters in anything like a sensible fashion and had Manny and Zed fully included, then we maybe could have enjoyed this as a good episode, but no. The weight of their shitty portrayals, their marginalization of these characters, the demonization of people of color and people of color culture it means that I can't enjoy this. It's too fraught with problematic tropes to be an acceptable depiction,
Hmm.
which destroys the good I would love in this episode. The good which I would normally be hailing. Its own history kills it.
I was not impressed. I was not, but you know what? I don't know that I have ever really been impressed with Constantine.
No, it's
I'm.
always missed its potential.
It's kind of like watching a death rattle now. You
Hmm.
know. Um. Although I did like Manny's interactions with Zed.
Hmm.
Those were really good. When she was
Yeah,
asking, is this from the devil? Is this from God? Where do I stand? What do I do? I kind of love those larger than life, outside self, mystical questions. That kind of shit, that is worth exploring. But the rest of it, the king with it, not so much.
they've never. It's frustrating because they've never realised the potential of what they have, and what they have is actually kind of. It has such potential to be awesome, but the marginalised characters are thoroughly put in the back seat. The storylines tend to be a bit monster of the weeky and trope laden, and nothing's really developed. You have a great show here. The pilot was amazing, and every now and again they'll throw out this really dark, gritty, terrible, um, conflicted episode, and you're like, oh yes, brilliant. And then no.
Mm.
And there's rumours, unconfirmed, and I think complete bullshit, but rumours that maybe because Grimm's going to NBC's going to cancel it, but maybe Syfy may pick it up for a second season, and I kind of wonder if Syfy might be able to do something better with it.
It's in Siffy's wheelhouse.
Hmm. And I kind of, because at the moment, frankly, if it's I'm sorry, but Constantine's done, and I'd turn around and go, yes, do it, kill it dead, and I'm sorry, but I wouldn't care. If Syfy picks up for a second season, I might go around and say, oh, okay, let's see what you can do with this.
Well, I think first off, the writers are hyper aware at this point
Hmm.
that not making John bisexual was a massive mistake.
Yeah.
And they would have the chance to sort of reboot that because there was no um they could change that at any
Hmm.
time if given enough of an opportunity to, and that might bring people back.
Yep. So we're gonna have to see.
Mm,
So I think if it does move to Syfy, I would be more excited about Constantine moving to Syfy for a second season than I would be with it continuing for a second season with NBC. If it continues for the second season with NBC, I would literally say, "Oh God, why?" If it
I don't
goes
think
to
it's going to. I really
no,
don't because it didn't even get it didn't they didn't get a full order on a series. That is like the death knell.
yeah. But if it goes to Syfy, I will actually try and go, "Oh, okay." I'll give it another chance. I won't reset the slate, but I will back off my general distaste a little while and wait for them to re-establish it.
Mhm.
I will give them chance to fail again.
Yeah. Eh.
Yeah. And we should also mention the rape scene.
Yes. This rape by deception. This whole isn't it wonderful he got to feel what sex was like? No, he got to become a rapist.
The man whose body he's in did not consent with sex, and I think a lot of people are missing this because they have obviously the man and the woman have an ongoing affair, but just because he consents to have sex with her at another time doesn't mean he consents now, and doesn't mean that he consents on having sex with Manny in the driving seat.
And would she even consent? She would not consent to have sex with. She thinks she's having sex with her boyfriend or her lover. She doesn't realize she's having sex with an angel. Would she even consent
Exactly.
to that? So it's problematic on both levels. And we saw the same thing happen in Being Human, as you recall.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
with
nobody
Sally
could
possessing
acknowledge that was
people.
rape. Yeah, nobody could acknowledge it was rape, unless you can't do mystical woo-woo shit and think because it's mystical woo-woo that it's not rape. Rape is rape.
Yeah,
You
we
need
see the same
consent.
thing in Grimm. I mean, who in Grimm acknowledged that Nick was raped by Adelind.
No, he slept with another woman, don't you know?
Yeah, over and over we're seeing this idea that using magical deception or magical coercion to have sex with someone isn't rape. If there's no consent, it's rape. I mean, that's like the basic definition. This is what makes rape rape. If they do not consent, if they cannot consent, if they are not consenting, it is rape.
Mm-hmm.
No ifs, buts, or maybes. There you are. So stop.
And stop treating it like it's a game. It's always like
Mm-hmm.
it's a game. It's a very serious thing. I think when I see scenes like this, I'm like, I think this is just the perfect example of how insidious the rape culture is that we live in. That we
Mm-hmm.
can see scenes like this and so many people not recognize it for rape.
Exactly. That we have so de-emphasized consent in our
Mm-hmm.
depictions of what makes sex sex that I don't think we don't even recognize its absence anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But they're my main issues with Constantine this week. Other than, again, I mean, we had some nice touching scenes with Zed, but it was there was another side of, oh hi Zed, what's happened? Well, a medical condition has put me on the bench again.
Yes.
The only reason
Yeah.
she's active is in comparison to previous seasons.
Episodes, you mean?
Yeah, episodes. Sorry.
Yeah. Because it's the John Constantine show. That's basically it.
Yeah, I do actually kind of like a conflict over having potentially having a tumor, because it does emphasize one thing that this show is very very clear about. Woo woo isn't free. Woo
It
woo
all has a
hurts.
cost.
Yeah, woo woo costs, and you're not going to get it for free. You're not going to get free powers. If you have powers, you're paying a cost for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that as well. And as I said, it led to great conversations with Manny.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed that.
Well, next episode is the season finale, so we will see where
Probably
that
the
goes.
series finale.
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
So we will see if Siffy gives it an 11th hour rescue and potential of pulling it from the pit, or whether or not we can finally say it's done.
It's a
Just
rare
because I do
thing
kind
for
of
a
like the
network
actor.
to. It's a rare thing for a network to pick up a show that another network is canceling.
It
So
doesn't.
don't
Isn't
hold your
Siffy
breath.
technically owned by NBC?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I'm not entirely sure myself. Yeah, it is. It's a subdivision of NBC, which does make it, I suppose, more likely. It's all part of Comcast anyway, but then again, just about everything is.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that's where I am with Constantine. I'm just deeply disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
And moving on again, because we got some
Mm-hmm.
more stuff to perk, and we're going to have to run to get through it. Vampire Diaries.
All right, you go. Go ahead, let it out.
So last week we had the homophobic murder of Luke after everything the show's done with LGBT people. And now we have Kai on the redemption train for a good guy. His body's not even cold, and Kai's on the redemption train. But not only is Kai on the redemption train after murdering Luke, he is on the redemption train because he murdered Luke. Kai is actually being redeemed by sacrificing Luke. I mean, it's actually the killing of one of the show's few gay characters is being used to redeem one of the villains. And yes, the show loves to redeem the villains, but come on, it could Luke's death have been more disrespected?
You had to have seen it coming.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was just going to get worse, but I never imagined it was going to get like this. It actually surprised me, even for Vampire Diaries standards. But and I expected some offensive. I actually kind of expected them to have Luke turn Kai gay or bisexual.
Oh, there's still time.
Oh. Well, no, I think in this episode he kind of openly said that he would have, because he said, I'd have liked to have taken any other of Luke's other traits, like, and I quote, the gay thing, but no, he got his compassion instead, which he'd rather have done without.
Hmm.
And then can we also go back? Luke wasn't compassionate. Luke was self-sacrificing. Luke was suicidal, which
Pretty
is a
much.
big difference from um, self-sacrificing, from being compassionate.
Hmm. This was never going to end well for his character. And
No.
I'm going to say this. I think they chose to kill Luke off because they just didn't know what to do with him.
Well, it's a classic thing. They make a marginalised character, but he literally, that's what he is. He's the marginalised character. So, of course, they have nothing to do with him. What
He
could they
never
do
had a
with him?
boyfriend, never really had a plot line. They just simply didn't know what to do with Luke, and that is why Luke is dead.
Hmm. Classic tokenism, which is exactly what we said in our discussion about the death of marginalised characters. You create tokens who have no characterization and no development, and then when it comes time to kill someone off, who are you going to kill someone off? You're going to kill off the token.
Right, and I mean, and here's the other thing. Other than the fact that Luke was linked to his sister, who else was he linked to? Elena had no more use for him. Damon is back.
Hmm.
He
And
had no purpose whatsoever, no links to any of the main characters.
hmm
It's so bad that even Enzo with his rage is a little bit more relevant than Luke was.
and that is an extraneous character.
There you have it. I can't wait for Enzo to get the steak. Ugh.
Another thing, which speaking of people who need the steak, oh my god, Elena is becoming a parody. It's every scene. I mean, they're having some really poignant, powerful scenes here and there, reminding us what Vampire Diaries can actually be in brief moments. And then Elena spawns in and says, "Make it about me." And there's Darren saying, "I'm going to drink the suicide bourbon with Bonnie, as we promised," and really drawing out the connection he and Bonnie had forged. And I thought that was wonderful. I thought it was meaningful. And then Elena comes in and says, "Tell me I don't love you just because I've become a vampire." I say, "Really, Elena? Really?"
It has to be about her.
So,
It
this is
absolutely has to.
everyone here is grieving. I mean, even the opening scene. What are you going to do? Well, I'm going to celebrate Bonnie's birthday party, but she's not here. It's seriously, you're going to actually have the birthday party for someone who is not there.
Because that's what Bonnie would want us to do. Mm.
A couple particularly when you had it on top of last week, where there's Caroline crying because her mother nearly died, and Elena suddenly storms out because it's about her. My pain, my pain.
I
She
think she's one of the least likable characters on any of the shows we watch, and that includes the villains.
she is so epically selfish. It's comic. It is actually funny.
Mm-hmm. Because it's
So yeah,
always she used to be the center of everything.
we're probably not going to have time to cover the book today, particularly since I also need to hit Helix. Sorry, I think we may have to leave Grim till next week.
All right, Helix, everybody grab a bong. Go.
So we got through 2 episodes, and I complained about the fact that they were bringing back up the rebooting the series, but leaving all the people of color behind. Then they brought out Hiroshi, who turns out to be the very definition of a mentally ill psychopath, which is just what we need as a depiction as well. But at least he wasn't a sinister scientist. And then after a fight scene, he appears to be dying. Hiroshi was brought back to leave his apparently white daughter a katana. Wasn't brought back as a character. He was brought back as an origin story for his blade. It was a scene right out of Kill Bill.
um, are we sure 1000% he's dead though? Because
We're
can't they heal
not.
themselves? I somehow don't feel like we've seen the last of Hiroshi.
I hope he does come back, because as things stand at the moment, this is not okay.
But it was a lot of, oh, my legacy. I mean, giving her the sword as his legacy, honestly,
Hmm.
Helix,
Yeah, I'm not.
Helix, Helix.
And the rest of Helix is either very predictable. Oh, look, we found the vector. It's the bee honey. Yeah, I know we've been focusing on bees a whole episode. Catch up. So, yeah, it's not quite. It's. I'm just not feeling this series. I'm not invested. I'm not particularly interested.
Well, you know what though? I am for the sense of I'm watching it and think to myself, what kind of crazy shit are they going to do this week?
It's kind of like
Right?
the way I was ended up watching a lot of American Horror Story episodes.
I, I'm I'm not interested in the plot because there just really isn't one that makes any kind of sense.
Hmm.
But you know that at some point they're going to include some weird ass scene that's going to have you looking at the TV going, huh? And this week it was Daniel and Hiroshi skipping on their way to go fishing.
They just throw in these random stuff because of why are we doing this? Because reasons.
With the theme from the old Andy Griffith show.
Hmm.
And it's the moment I look forward to every episode because I just know some weird shit is coming.
At some point, the weird music will play and something odd will happen.
Right? And I am incredibly amused by it. Which is sad because I'm basically watching an hour to be amused by a few minutes. Um, but that is always, it seems, the best part of Helix because it doesn't make any sense. They seem to be grasping at straws. And do we really care about any of the characters? Really?
Hmm. No,
No.
not invested. I don't I have to say every time I tune in, I don't dread it and I don't hate it. I just and I'm not bored rigid of it, which is frankly my opinion of 12 Monkeys at the moment. I'm sorry, but it is.
Yeah. Well, see, because when you watch Helix, you're going to get that one weird scene. It's something to look forward to. In 12 Monkeys, there's nothing.
Yeah, it's just dull.
And, you know, and I know we're running short on time, but since you said it, can I just,
Run
you
with
want
it,
to
run, run,
finish?
run.
All right. I have to say, I know I went into 12 Monkeys and I wasn't down with it at the very beginning.
Hmm.
Excuse me, having watched the show. Um, and now I can see that I was 1,000% right.
Yeah, it seems to be telling exactly the same message the film did. None of the characters are particularly enthralling. The marginalized characters are sidelined, dead, or minor.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said in my review of 12 Monkeys, Ramsey basically is Cole's conscience.
Hmm.
That's what he is. He's a conscience. And
Hi,
it's a trope.
Jiminy.
I know! And it's a trope. It's ridiculous.
It's a non-woo-woo version of the magical person of color trope.
Exactly. That plus we have, a totally predictable villain.
Hmm.
It could come out of any dystopian show or book. He's so he's just a caricature.
Hmm.
I've just kind of had it. I think 4 episodes in, I kind of had it, which is sad. Really, they
Yeah,
had me for one episode and then just gone.
and like normally I try to get to six episodes. I try before I make a judgment, but I'm just bored. And again, if it went for the blog, I would have said no.
Yeah,
As it would have gone. I would have stopped watching it.
I think so. I think definitely this week would have been it for me.
Hmm.
And as much as I love the actor who plays Ramsey, I really do like him. He does really good work. Um, I feel like they're wasting him on this show. And I wish the roles were reversed. I wish that Cole was playing Ramsey and the actor who's playing Ramsey was playing Cole.
That would be interesting, but no.
Instead they had to go with, white guy dystopian and just follow along like every other one. There's nothing different about it. We all know how this story ends. They can't change what happened. How many Terminator movies have we seen? We finally brought it to an end. Boom, it happens anyway. We brought it to an end. Boom, it happens anyway. It
which is like
just
the
is
whole
gonna
point.
happen.
And I don't think they can change that because that was kind of not really a spoiler. The whole integral point of the film,
Hmm.
the defining feature of the film was how time is immutable.
Well, and this is exactly. I mean, it's clear for Cassandra to have left the message, specifically asking for James, means it's already happened. So all he's doing is going back and fulfilling the role that he played the first time around. It's this magnificent loop that they're playing. That's what it is. Nothing is changing. End of story.
So I'm not particularly invested in this show. It has to be said.
No, and the only good thing that came out of it is, well, hey, they didn't kill a person of color this week. They
Yeah,
came
they
close,
came
but
close.
so far each week they've killed a person of color. And when I saw Ramsey die, well, when it seem that Ramsey died the first time around, I was pretty livid.
I thought it was
So
going to happen. I really did.
I'm kind of glad they didn't pull that off. I was, however, surprised that Whitley survived. I think he's kind of dead man walking. The soldier,
Yeah.
I think he's kind of dead man walking. Cole is going to end up taking him out.
The thing is, look, it's going to sound sad, but I'm not even invested enough in this show to be angry about it.
It's just kind of meandering along. I mean, do we
Mm,
care about the 12 monkeys? Do we care about the dark room? Do we care about any of it?
yeah. And
Eh.
even there, I'm trying to say, oh, look, you've killed off another person of colour. This is a trope. But it's like that in the monotone because I just care so little about the show that even its tropes fail to engage me.
Yeah, and it just feels used and used. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the whole thing just feels, it's been done. Has it been
Oh,
done?
done.
Oh,
It's been done. It's been done. It's been done. It's been done. And I just, So we'll see how long it lasts, but I haven't checked the cancellation bear, but I'm not feeling 12 monkeys.
no. And it's on Siffy, so it won't appear on the cancellation bar.
Oh, okay.
Cancellation Bear only does network.
Okay.
Which probably brings us to the book of the week. Next week we are going to try and cover more of our books. The only reason we haven't this week is because
It's Paul's
rather
fault.
well, all of our shows kind of decided to line up and annoy. It's like they tried. They actually did sit there and go, you know what, we're really going to aim this time.
And I didn't even get to bring up the 100.
Which we will have to come to next week along with Grimm. I'll make a little note. The 100 and Grimm need our uh, kind attention next week.
Mm-hmm.
Our book of the week this week.
Oh, and Sleepy Hollow. That was some horse shit, too.
Shows, stop failing so much.
Okay.
Right, we will cover them next week. Right. Our book of the week this week was The Diabolical Miss Hyde by Viola Carr, which was an interesting take on the whole Jekyll and Hyde myth. Obviously, it's Jekyll and Hyde's daughter. But I like the way it was depicted because it was the divide between Eliza Jekyll, Dr. Eliza Jekyll, and Ms. Lizzie Hyde wasn't good and evil. It was class. Miss Hyde was common. She was hard-edged. She was a woman of the streets. She knew she was sympathetic towards sex workers. She knew the criminals and the pickpockets, whereas Dr. Eliza was much more prim and proper and suitable, upper class, restrained, properly polite, and it was a nice way that they actually broke down that comparison. At the same time, they were both very subversive because in some ways, like Lizzie was more compassionate than Eliza, while Eliza, of course, as a female doctor, was very much rebellious against the class she was part of. So it had a lot of interesting elements there. On top of that, we have this wonderful steampunk world, but also this push for orthodoxy. There's a very strong, no deviation from what's accepted science. Otherwise, people literally get burned alive, and it's part of the way they control society, because obviously having these eccentric, super genius doctors running around inventing anything is inherently destabilizing, and it brings in one of the things you rarely see in steampunk, is that era was one of a great deal of unrest. There was a lot of revolutions. There was a rising anarchism. There was a lot of, obviously, lots of parts of the British Empire were rebelling. There was the ongoing after effects of the French Revolution, which was still very much pushing itself across onto the into the British lower classes as well. And you don't often see that unrest presented in steampunk. And so I think it actually got that quite well as well. It had a very interesting idea with a lot of humans being the descendant of the Fae. It covered a lot of sexism with inconvenient women being shuttered away, including lesbians. It had an excellent side character. Captain Lafayette is one of the Royal Society. He's an inquisitor, and he's investigating and involved in Eliza's investigation because she's a crime scene investigator. And it's all quite difficult for her because obviously she has a big secret that could get her burned. But they have the best dialogue. They snark back and forth so utterly perfectly that I don't think I've ever seen dialogue I've loved as much. And the problem is I've listed a whole lot of things there which are really, really good, and there's even more things which are really good as well, but that's all rammed into this book. And all of them are part of Lizzie's story. I mean, on top of that, you've got your serial killer, you've got depictions of Bethlehem, you've got the women, you've got unrest, you've got this Inquisition, you've got a lot of issues with her father, which is a big dramatic storyline all of itself. It's huge and it's too much. I loved the book. I really liked it. I gave it 4 fangs. I think it very much deserved it. But by the time you reach about page 300, it's about 416 pages long. By the time you reach page 300, you kind of look and go, isn't it over yet? I mean, it's still going and there's still quite a bit left. Why is it still quite a bit left? It's going on a bit too much. Some of these plot lines needed cutting. They needed more development of the individual, because I think all these individual plot lines I liked, but I could have loved them if you'd have made the attempt to develop them more rather than ram everything in there. And I think that's what tripped this book up mainly. My main criticism of this book, it had so many great ideas that should have gone into book 2. Which is a shame because it's really fun, it's really good, it's a beautiful world setting, it's got lots of complexities, and the cover, I rarely talk about book covers, but the cover is gorgeous. So, yeah, it's a shame there's too much there. Another problem I have is it's very light on minorities. I don't recall any people of colour in the book at all, and we have one tragic lesbian who tragically dies in a tragic fashion with extra tragedy. And she's a teeny tiny character anyway, and we find her lover, but her lover's already been conveniently killed before the story even starts. So,
of course,
I mean, as far as tragic lesbians dying tragically with extra tragedy goes, it's not a terrible depiction. There's lots of calling out about how unfair it is, how unjust, but it's still a tragic tragedy of extra tragedy. You know? And it's still a case of, you just threw them in there for some extra tragedy. And it adds to the overstuffed feel of the book.
It does sound like it's got some very good potential, though.
It is. Oh, I gave it 4 fangs. I loved it. I love the main character. I love the depiction of class is immense. The depiction of sexism is immense. It covers It covers domestic violence, which goes beyond intimate partner violence. You've got domestic violence from a brother trying to control his sister. It's covered lots of gender issues. It covers lots of cases of political unrest and societal control. It's got a beautiful world. It's got a crime scene investigator which actually relies on crime scene investigation rather than any kinds of woo-woo. You've got an actually really good sexual tension between Lafayette and Eliza, Jekyll, and Lizzie, but at the same time you've got like a jealousy between Lizzie and Eliza because Lizzie is accessible to Lafayette because she's obviously a lower class woman who consorts with sex workers, etc., etc. But at the same time she feels that he would never ever be with her because she's after the much more classy, more proper Eliza, who is a proper lady, and so you've got a lot of jealousy, and you've got a lot of jealousy going both ways between the two sides, of each envies the freedoms or the privileges of the other personality. There's a lot of really good stuff there. It's a lot of really excellent depictions. It's just too full. There's too much of the excellence. And I think the excellence itself, I mean, there's another sideline. She's had someone locked up in Bethlehem. He's a serial killer. And he's insane, and he's dangerous, and he's terrifying, which there's a lot of bad mental illness tropes in this book, I'm afraid. But one of the things with it is she had him locked up, and she testified that he was insane, so he was locked up rather than executed. But then she sees the tortures he endures in Bethlehem, and she's very conflicted over it, and her role in it. And it's another interesting nuance, but again, it's another thing in a book that's already got all the things.
For some reason, it seems that just they want to pack everything all in. They don't know what's going to hook you, so everything goes in.
I get the feeling that the author Viola Carr had these wonderful ideas, so many excellent ideas, but she couldn't bear to part with any of them. Because there isn't a single idea I say I don't like, because I love every single storyline, but not all in this book. But yeah, it's wonderful, and I'm hoping that it just gets a bit of an edit for the second book in the series because I like it, and that's beyond my love of steampunk and the fact the cover is gorgeous. I mean, seriously, this is a beautiful cover on this book. But yes, that is that book. I would recommend it, but yeah, it bogs. It does bog down, which is a crying shame, but it does. It's well worth adding to your bookshelf, though. Perhaps not for the price of it, because I understand it's actually quite pricey. I mean, we got an ARC.
I think it's like $11 or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's like $11 or something like that, which for a new book, I suppose, is right on par. It really is.
I say it's actually worth it in this case.
You know, and I guess it depends on how much you're willing to spend, right?
Yep.
I mean, you can get some indies for $3 or $4, and some of them are not so great. So it depends. I mean, if you really love the story, $11 isn't too much to pay.
Yeah, I would say that it's $11 may put you off, but in this case, it is actually worth it. To be honest, it's released tomorrow, so and I think it's worth adding to any collection. Our book of the week next week is Vision in Silver by Anne Bishop. The Meg is back. This is
the Meg. I can't wait to. I've been waiting so long to talk about this, but yeah.
It's the third book in the series, and as everybody knows, we love this series, so we've been looking forward to it for some time, so we expect much more enthusiasm next week. But I wish to emphasize I was enthusiastic about this book this week. I did like it. Until then, sorry, go on.
I just want to say, unfortunately, I did not get the chance to read it, because I am currently reading the Outlander series by Diana Gabaldon, and hopefully next week there will be time left on the show for me to rant, because ranting must happen.
We will have to make time for that. So tune in next week at the same time, same place where we rant. You can also catch up with those rants on our blog, fangsoffantasy.com, and they'll also appear on Goodreads, Library Thing, Facebook, Twitter, and book likes. Also, remember to check out our Fangs for Fancy Airman Fantasy Award. It's your last chance to get in the category out nominations because voting will begin shortly. Do contact us by any means to suggest your contenders for the various categories for the Golden Fangs and the dreaded Fan Poodle.
Okay.
Other than that, I'll see you all next week at the same time, same place. Hope to see you all then. Goodbye all.
Goodbye. Have a good week.
And you.